Generally speaking, preseason games come and go. Fans get excited for the return of football and are fully into preseason, but once the regular season kicks off, these games become pretty forgettable, especially if they weren't televised. In light of this truth, let's dig up one of the ones worth remembering and put it in the spotlight. This particular game was on July 3rd, 1974. As far as I can tell, there wasn't a whole lot of significance about the start of this season for either team. In the offseason, the Argos had drafted Larry Utek, who the annual Utek Bowl between the Ontario University football champion and the Atlantic University football champion is named. Which is kind of cool in retrospect, but at the time, as far as I can tell, no headlines were being made about any changes or anything. Toronto's coach was a guy named John Rauch, who also coached the Oakland Raiders in their Super Bowl II loss to Green Bay, and the Riders had a guy named John Payne as their head coach, who had no head coaching experience outside of joining Saskatchewan in 1973. As this was preseason, many of the players are pretty insignificant, and may have been cut less than a month after this game. So let's get into it. The opening kickoff was returned by the Riders, who marched a bit, then were forced to punt. The kick made it into the end zone and was just ran out to the 1-yard line, pinning the Argos deep, even though it seemed like Saskatchewan's intention was to put an early point on the board. This paid off for the Riders, whose defense forced a 2-and-out, and they got the ball back. After a few attempts from inside the 5-yard line, Ron Lancaster handed the ball off to George Reed, who ran the ball into the end zone for a pretty easy touchdown. The convert was good, 7-0. A player, who I can't identify, made an impressive kick return for the Argos down to their own 47, but unfortunately they couldn't capitalize and had to settle for a field goal attempt after this incomplete pass. The kick was missed, and the Riders conceded a point in the end zone, making the score 7-1. The Argos got the ball back, and the refs ruled that a Rider was too rough in his pushing out of bounds of an Argo into the sideline bench. On the opening play of the second quarter, Billy Cooper ran it in much like George Reed had done earlier. The conversion was good, and Toronto was up 8-7 at Exhibition Stadium. After a failed drive each by both teams, a Rider dropped the should-have-been catch, and Saskatchewan tried punting for a Rouge to tie the score at 8, with a bit of a high snap on the play. The Argos ran it out, but again were pinned super deep. They were then forced to punt to the Riders, who after this dropped, bobbled, near interception, this time tried a field goal to take the lead, or at least tie it. The kick was missed, and the Argos eventually gave up a point, tying the game 8-8. The Riders were proving to be very good at getting the ball back, as Toronto's quarterback fumbled with no one touching him. But again, a short run and an incomplete pass forced a Saskatchewan field goal attempt that was good, 11-8. After a sack, Andrew Sisson was forced to punt, and two different Rough Riders thought they were returning the ball. It bounced on the turf and the Argos recovered. From what I can tell, on an unsuccessful 3rd-and-goal touchdown attempt, the Riders were flagged for roughing the passer, and on the next play the Argos ran it in. 15-11 after the convert. A few plays later, and the first half was over. Now you might be thinking, well, this is pretty cool, I guess, but what's so special about it? Well, trust me, just wait until the ending and you'll see. With former Rose Bowl winning quarterback Mike Ray playing, the Argos marched to their opening possession of the third quarter down the field, aided by these Riders linemen jumping offside early. Another short run into the end zone increased the Argos' lead to 22-11. A failed possession later thanks to a sack, and Andrew Sisson once again found himself punting to Saskatchewan, and the Riders bobbled it again. But it didn't matter, because their offense wasn't producing anything at all, and the Argos had a first down again after a punt. So as you can see, momentum was really in Toronto's favor. Tight end Peter Muller apparently caught a pass from Ray and fumbled it, with Saskatchewan recovering, although nowadays, this would certainly be ruled as an incomplete pass. But it didn't really matter because once again the Riders could not make a first down and punted. Now, my film of this game skips to a play with Saskatchewan on offense, so that probably means there was some sort of penalty that gave them a first down. But as you can probably imagine, they could not get a first down and lined up to punt, but the snap was high, and their punter was tackled for a 46-yard loss and a turnover on downs. Despite the great field position, the Argos could only capitalize with 3 points and a 25-11 lead. Once again, Saskatchewan's ensuing possession ended with a punt, and then a slightly interesting play occurred when Andrew Sisson dodged a punt block, and once again, punted the ball downfield. Things got even more miserable for the Rough Riders as the fourth quarter started when a pass was intercepted around midfield. But the Argos couldn't get a drive going yet again, and they punted. But this time, Saskatchewan was actually able to complete passes down the field, including this beautiful one to Al Ford. So they're probably going to score, right? Nope, they punted. But it was all worth it because that's also how the Argos finished their drive. When Saskatchewan got the ball back, a wild play occurred. A pass went off the hands of a Rough Rider receiver and into the hands of an Argo defender who was apparently a running back named Ernie Carnegie, who then immediately fumbled, only for it to be recovered by Saskatchewan. It's possible it wasn't Carnegie as this was preseason and numbers get switched around a lot. Anyway, Lancaster hit Steve Mazurek near the goal line, and he dodged some tacklers to make the score with the conversion 25-18, with over 6 minutes left. The Argos again couldn't get into scoring range, and when the Riders got the ball back, they were in full comeback mode as there were less than 4 minutes left, and the 3-minute warning was not invented yet as far as I know. It was completed pass after completed pass, until the completed pass to Tom Campana made it 25-24. The conversion was good, and the game was tied. Not wanting to commit a turnover, the Argonauts relied heavily on their running game to get close enough for a winning score. From the Saskatchewan 33-yard line, Andrew Sisson was sent out to kick the winning point. The Riders put anyone who could kick or run with a ball in the end zone, and a recipe for mayhem was written. Andrew Sisson punted it shallow into the end zone. Saskatchewan immediately punted it out, with no time for hesitation. The ball bounced to the Saskatchewan 49-yard line. Andrew Sisson appeared to fake dribbling the ball before picking it up, dodging a punt block, and kicking it back in. The ball was caught around the Saskatchewan 12-yard line by an overzealous Argonaut named Emery Blake, who ran the ball into the end zone. Being a rookie from America playing his first game up north, he probably knew that you could recover your own team's punt, but didn't really know how. But I have to say, this is the first time I've ever seen a team catch their own punt without the intention of a short onside kick. The Ticats did it legally in 2023 against Toronto, but they executed this with much more thought than Mr. Blake here. Anyway, Saskatchewan was awarded one last play, and they just ran the ball out. Final score, 25-25. Generally speaking, most endings like this would probably be remembered, especially by Rough Rider fans. But because it was preseason, it kind of just fell into obscurity once the regular season started. But regardless, this game is still an interesting enough piece of Canadian football history that I thought it would be worth sharing with you today. Let me know if there are any other old games you'd like to see. There's no guarantee I have a film of them, but there's certainly a chance I could try to get it. I'm going to do more of this kind of video format in the future, after the success of my video on the 1963 Little Miracle. So if you're interested in stuff like this, feel free to subscribe.